What is up, everyone? Here on the DNVR Rockies podcast today, we've got some new information regarding some changes that we might be seeing in the near future for Major League Baseball. Let's get into it next, right here on the DNVR Rockies podcast. Oh, what a day. What a day here from the Toyota Lounge at the DNVR bar. It is the DNVR Rockies podcast. Oh my goodness, I am pumped to be with you guys today. It is a huge show for us, not just because we've got a good show, lots to talk about on the show today, but it's our first official show at DNVR that is live broadcasted right now on Samsung TV. Guys, we've made it big time. And I know this is a long time in the works, and years and years of building has gone into this moment. I don't want to get too sob story on you guys. I've only been a part of this awesome company for just a couple months now. Kale, I know you've been with this team forever, it feels like.
Yep, long time.
Did you ever expect that DNVR was going to be in a position where you could turn on your television and scroll down your list of channels and see, oh yeah, there we are on television?
This sounds crazy, but yeah. I really, I don't know. I had pretty big ambitions for us from the beginning. We were nowhere close, so it's cool to finally be here. But I did think eventually we would get here, yeah.
Awesome stuff. DNVR has always been paving the way for sports coverage, digital media coverage in this sports community, and you guys have seen how much we've grown over the last few years, and it's been super fun to be a part of. But yeah, just another cool step in this process that we get to be a part of, and I'm excited that you guys have another way to watch us, especially in an era where it's so hard to get coverage in so many different platforms. There's so many different ways that people can get informed on all of these different sports subjects, and so I'm really proud to be a part of a team that is leading the way in that. So yeah, just pretty cool stuff to start off the show here. I said it though, we've got a good show, a lot of baseball stuff to talk about on the show today. And look, to get into it, and we're not going to talk a ton about the Rockies today. I'm going to preface that now, but there is a lot of really interesting stuff just in the baseball sphere, and some of it does impact the Rockies in the future. And the first thing that I'll bring up is the fact that Major League Baseball right now, we just found out yesterday that they're testing out a check swing replay system in the Arizona Fall League right now. Now, our buddy Jesse Friedman, who is one of the beat writers for PHNX for the Diamondbacks team, he's out there at the Salt River Fields in Arizona. And he posted a video, and we'll pull up this video on his tweet where you can actually kind of see what this looks like. Now, this is in the testing phase right now in Major League Baseball. It's something that managers can go ahead and use a challenge now. If this was to be approved at the big league level, you can go and use a challenge to basically dispute whether or not you believe a swing is a check swing or not. And we actually did see that there was a check swing call that got overturned against Mets prospect Drew Gilbert in their game in Arizona. So it did work, and you could see kind of what the graphic looked like on the screen there, where it just shows this over the top kind of 3D version of this, and so I wanted to know what you guys think. In the Toyota chat, if you're hanging with us today, is this something that baseball fans have wanted to see? Now, I've been a firm advocate for change is good. Growth is good. And sometimes growing comes with pains. That's the saying, growing pains. But change is never really a bad thing in my mind. I do think that it helps the game keep up with where the world is, where the fans are, where everything is progressing in today's era of sports. But I would argue that this seems like it could be a really good thing. And I'm also a fan of replays. Now we're going to talk in a little bit about other changes that we might be seeing in baseball, in the coming years. But I'm a big fan of instant replay. I think in a world where there's so much technology, so many opportunities, so many resources that are at our fingertips, where we don't have to guess, we don't have to ask ourselves, we don't have to have one person, an umpire, make a decision of is that a ball or a strike, is that a check swing or not. We can have a computer that can confirm to us that yes, this was in fact a check swing, or yes, he did go around and swing. So I think it's a good thing. I think it would be a good step in the right direction. Obviously, the most important part and why they're testing it in the fall league right now is the idea that you want to make sure you get it right, and that there aren't these questions of the technical side of things. As long as you can get your technical side figured out, there's all of this conversation of what's the angle of the bat, like what angle of the bat does the bat have to go? Does it have to be a 45-degree angle for it to be considered a strike? It looks like that is the cutoff, is that it has to be the hitter has to surpass a 45-degree angle on their swing. What does that starting point look like? There's all of that stuff, that back end stuff that you have to pay attention to. But it's also interesting to take a look at this from a hitting and pitching standpoint. As a pitcher, I think this replay, the check swing replay, leans more towards hitters, in favor of hitters, than it does pitchers. Because I think there's a good amount of pitchers that have gotten some strong calls, where they've been able to get that check swing call called as a strike, and been able to get out of an at bat or whatever from a pitching standpoint, and that usually ends up hurting a lot more from a batter standpoint. So Jesse, actually, for example, Jesse Friedman spoke with one of the Arizona prospects, Tommy Troy, after the game about whether or not he, as a hitter, thinks this is a good change, and if it fits more towards the hitter's perspective than towards the pitcher's perspective. And Tommy Troy had an interesting take on this. I'll let you guys listen into what he had to say.
It's pretty forgiving for the hitters. We got a challenge today, and I was like, wow. But I mean, it's part of the game. I love how we're trying it out in this setting. We can make adjustments from there. But I like it.
Necessarily feel like I know. Do you guys feel like the definition of the check?
I've never. The definition's been pretty ambiguous, ever since I started playing. But they're saying it's 45 degrees or whatever, down the line. I don't really know. Before that, I just thought if you were just crossing the plate at all, it would be a swing. But I guess it's changing now. But
So 45 degrees, that seems very generous.
That is pretty. I mean, it's hard enough to hit. Why not?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love what he says there. It's hard enough to hit, so why not? Hey, well, hitters will take it if they get that opportunity. I think the most important thing, for this situation is that they're at least testing this out. Like I said, change is never a bad thing in my mind. You just got to make sure you get it right. So this is a perfect opportunity. And can I say, I was talking to Kale about this before the show started. Maybe this is a knock on me, but I just haven't been paying that much attention to the fall leagues this year, and in years past as well. I know that's a very niche thing. Some people are very focused on the Arizona Fall League and looking at some of those lesser known prospects to see, are we going to see, a future Rockies pitcher or a future Rockies player playing, in the minors right now or in the fall league right now. And if Chase Dollander was going out there and consistently getting some innings, or if they had, Zach Veen playing in the fall leagues, I'd probably put a little more energy into following it. But there's really good baseball being played professionally right now. The Rockies have a lot of storylines, or we've had a lot of storylines for the Rockies as they've entered the offseason. If something important happens out of the fall league, I'll let you know. But otherwise, I'm just not going to put a lot of energy into the fall league. I will push towards another site that does a good job covering the fall league. Blake Street Banner, our friends over at Blake Street Banner, we're actually going to have some interesting crossover stuff going on between us and them in the coming weeks, next week specifically. So keep an eye out for that. But they do a great job following some of that Arizona Fall League stuff. And also you can follow our buddies over at PHNX for Jesse Friedman and company. They do a good job as well. But yeah, Fall League stuff, this is probably the biggest news that I'm going to get out of the Fall League this fall, is this whole check swing situation. But it brought up the question for me, beyond that is what other changes could we or should we bring to baseball? Because baseball has gone through a huge turnover in changes over the last, 5 years. We saw the pitch clock come on. We saw, the bases get expanded, the shift get eliminated. You could go through a huge list of changes. And I think the most obvious and controversial change that always comes up whenever you talk about what changes should or could be brought on to baseball is robo-umps. And I had just said, just a few moments ago, that I am always an advocate for change in most areas. With that being said, though, this is probably the one place that I'm okay never changing. I don't think there should be a computer making the call for balls and strikes. And I've gotten into this argument, with plenty of other people in the past. Like, we can go rounds on why or why not. I think that there's just there is a level of human element to the game that I think is necessary for it to be considered a game, to a degree. It's one of the reasons why I think the NFL still does a chain measurement on, fourth down and inches type of thing, when in reality they could have lasers that probably measure that a lot quicker. But what I do think could be changed, and I think it could actually improve people's perception of balls and strikes, is I think we could see a situation in which managers and teams end up getting a ball/strike challenge throughout a game. And here's what I mean by that. I think having the ability, maybe once or twice, having one or two challenge flags, the ability to challenge a ball or strike call once or twice a game, I think could get rid of those super egregious, game-changing moments where, it's bottom of the ninth, bases loaded, you're down by 2 runs or something, and all of a sudden you get a low strike 3 call that was definitely not a strike, but for whatever reason, because of the human element, it was called a strike 3, and it changes the entire outcome and trajectory of the game. I'm not for robo-umpires, but I do think there should be some sort of ability for teams to not have their season or even their game end on a controversial bad strike 3 or ball 4 call or whatever that is. So having the ability to say, whoa, hold on. We're going to use our 1 ball and strike challenge in this moment. And when you lose it, or when you use it, you lose it too. There is no if you win the challenge, you get another one. It's one of those things, because otherwise then you'd be challenging balls and strikes the whole game, right? Like, we'd see teams that are just doing that nonstop. So you have to have some boundaries there. You can't just allow teams to just constantly be challenging balls and strikes. But if you give a team a 1 singular or even 2 singular or 2, ball and strike challenges, that allows teams to not lose a game on a bad strike 3 call. Now, the other caveat to that is that there needs to be a quicker way to review it. I wouldn't want to see the situation where you say, whoa, that was a ball. It's the bottom of the 7th inning. We've got guys on 2nd and 3rd, and it's 2 outs, and and this could change the whole game. And now we got to pause for 10 minutes while New York reviews whether or not that's actually a ball or a strike. There's got to be like a very specific, it should take no longer than 90 seconds to figure out that was, we looked at the little box there. The ball did not, touch part of that box. That was clearly a ball. It was called a strike. Call is overturned. Within 90 seconds, we're back on the mound. We're doing it again. That was just called a ball, So you could go down the rabbit hole in a lot of ways in this aspect, but I do think that would be, if it was up to me, that'd be something I'd want to see. I think that'd be kind of cool. And it would get rid of, I think, a lot of this, a team's season ending on a bad strike 3 call, and then you got an entire fan base of people saying, we need robo-umpires, and, I think robo-umpires would be bad for the game. So just a thought, something to mill around this offseason. We're going to have a lot of those to jump around with this offseason. But speaking of weird little storylines, if you are a fan of DNVR, then you might have seen me host TDSP, the Denver Sports Podcast, yesterday with our buddy Eric Lacroix. And we had an interesting conversation, an interesting topic of the show for TDSP yesterday. It was father-son duos in sports. Now, we talked more specifically about Eric and his dad, Pierre. And if you don't know, Eric Lacroix played, hockey for the Avalanche, NHL hockey for the Avalanche. And his dad was the GM and president of the Avs when he was playing. And so we had this crossover of, what was some of his experiences and how that relates to, guys like Dion and his kid Shador and Shiloh, or Brendan and Michael Malone, and, those kind of situations. Well, yesterday, we saw Ken Griffey Jr. and LeBron James and Ken Griffey Jr. and Sr. and LeBron James and his son Bronny pairing up at the Lakers game. And so we're gonna talk about that at the other side of the break. And so I want to talk about that connection, and we're gonna rank some of the best father-son duos when we come back from this next break. But before we get into that, got to give some love to our buddies over at Coors Light, because Coors Light is truly the most refreshing and cold light beer. It is. I mean, we've got a bucket of Coors Light right in front of me, and there's a reason it's at every bar in every town. Whether you're in Montana like I was over the weekend, here in Denver, or even just hiking up in the mountains, camping, wherever it is, like Coors Light is everywhere, and there's a reason for that. It's because it's the best and most refreshing light beer. And anytime I'm hitting up a bar or going camping or going to a sporting event, in between periods at an Avalanche game or whatever it is, I'm trying to find the closest place to get myself, to get my hands on some Coors Light, because Coors Light is truly the best. And there are plenty of chances that you have in your life to choose to chill. You can embrace that chill mindset by cracking open a nice, cold, refreshing Coors Light. Wait till those mountains are blue, as I always say, and enjoy it the way it's meant to be enjoyed. I also think it's funny. I was at a friend's house, like a gathering in a buddy's backyard the other day, and he had like a cooler of some drinks, and he had some drinks, some IPAs scattered across the top of the ice, and I'm digging down underneath the ice, and underneath the ice, under all that pile of other drinks, there was an ice cold Coors Light, and it was like finding a little bit of gold in a river. I mean, it was just that little slice of heaven you see at the bottom of a cooler, pulling out a nice cold, refreshing Coors Light. So yeah, make the most out of the times you choose to chill, and embrace that Coors Light. You can also get Coors Light delivered straight to your door with Instant Cart by going to CoorsLight.com/DNVR. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company in our backyard here in Golden, Colorado. Also got to give some love to our buddies over at Empire Today, because with Empire Today, you get the best in the business when it comes to floor replacement. If you're at home and you're trying to get some winter, some fall renovations, some of those projects going, and you want to replace your floor, Empire Today is great. They're an incredible company that is quick. They're affordable. They've got incredible customer service. My wife and I, we're working with Empire Today right now as we're getting ready to sell our house in the next year or so, and we got some floors that we got to take care of. And Empire Today has really been the best when it comes to quality, service, and speed. And I say it every show. If you're a fan of the show, you've heard me say it before, but my favorite part of Empire Today is the fact that they have a virtual floor designer. So when Marissa and I were trying to figure out what was the best fit for our floor, we took a picture of the living space, and which in our case is our living room, and we were able to choose and see what the floor is going to look like when we put that in there. So Empire Today, they are truly the best in the business. You can be confident that you're going to get the best and the most quality floors when you go with Empire Today. So schedule a free in-home estimate. All listeners of this show can receive a $350 off discount when you use the promo code DNVR. Restrictions apply. See EmpireToday.com/DNVR for details. All right, we're talking father-son duo, and it's an interesting topic. And like I said, I talked about it on TDSP yesterday, but I think it's worth diving into a little deeper today. Because yesterday in the Lakers game, I don't know if you guys saw this, but LeBron James and his son Bronny made history as the first father-son duo to step foot on an NBA court in an NBA game, both as players. And look, from a historical stat line, I understand it. When you look back on LeBron's legacy, we're going to see that he was the first father to play basketball in an NBA game with his son. But outside of that historical storyline, outside of that historical stat, that means nothing to me beyond that. And I made this comparison on Twitter that outside of the Lakers fan base, who I would argue might not even actually care about this as much as I think people think they do, but outside of the Lakers fan base, not a single person around the NBA community or the sports community in whole cares about this father-son duo. Because you can make the pretty legitimate argument that it's not earned. Like, you're going to make the argument that Bronny James, if he didn't have that last name, would be an NBA basketball player. Did you watch how he played at USC? Did you watch how he played in the preseason? The dude's not an NBA player. Even in the few minutes that he played in that game, he didn't look great. And so really cool for LeBron and his son. For the James family, that's awesome. For everyone else in the basketball world, this just was the epitome of what we've come to know out of LeBron James and his family, which is it's all for show. And I will die on this hill. LeBron James is the biggest showman in the entire NBA, for better or worse. And the reason I'm tying this into baseball is because Ken Griffey Jr. and Ken Griffey Sr. were at that game. No doubt they were brought in by the Lakers organization or even the NBA organization to boost the storyline, to say, let's bring another iconic father and son duo in to grace the social media presence of all of the people there by taking a little father-son duo combo picture between LeBron and Bronny and Griffey Jr. and Sr. But unlike Ken Griffey Jr. and Ken Griffey Sr., there was nothing special about LeBron James and Bronny playing in an NBA game because it was all politics. It was LeBron James, being the biggest player in the NBA, saying, I want to play basketball with my son. And he has every right to do that. I would be doing the same thing if I was in his shoes. But it doesn't have the same weight that a lot of the other father-son playing duos have. It was staged, is the best way of putting it. So I want to talk about some real father-son duos, some legitimate father-son duos. And we're going to talk about baseball because this is a baseball pod. So of course we're going to talk about baseball. So I wanted to rank the best father-son duos in baseball according to WAR, wins above replacement. And this is career WAR. First of all, Kale, you're a baseball guy. I wanted to ask you if you could take a guess on who you think will be number one, because there's a handful of good father-son duos in baseball. Baseball being probably the biggest sport where you see this. Do you have a good guess on who you think would be number one on the number one rated father-son duo in all of sport?
It's got to be the Griffies. Like, they're both. One's a first ballot Hall of Famer, and his son's not far behind.
They're close. They're very close. It's not. Do you have a
That's
second
crazy.
guess? Is there a second guess?
Oh man!
Because your second guess for most old baseball fans, your second guess is probably number one, and you're close. Ken Griffey, and that was my guess too, by the way, Kale, when I was thinking about this, because I had to look this up. Ken Griffey Jr. and Ken Griffey Sr. was my guess. It's actually Bobby and Barry Bonds.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
And I would say,
but it's Barry carries.
But
that.
Barry,
Yeah.
I was gonna say, the only reason that's the case, and that's no knock on Bobby Bonds. Bobby Bonds was great. He had a better career WAR than Ken Griffey Sr. did. But Barry Bonds carried that. Barry Bonds had a 162.8 career WAR, which is unreal. And his dad had a 57.9 career WAR. They're the number one father-son duo in baseball. Ken Griffey Jr. and Ken Griffey Sr. Ken Griffey Sr. had a 34.5 career WAR. Ken Griffey Jr. had an 83.8 career WAR. So not too far behind, but like when your son has 162 career WAR, like but Barry Bonds showed out in his career, and it's hard to compete with that. Number 3 on that list, Felipe Alou and Moises Alou.
This one surprises me a little bit.
It does.
There's more famous names that come to mind before that.
Yeah? Who do you think?
Like, I don't know, the Guerreros. Like,
Yeah.
Like, they would be probably the next ones to come into my brain.
They're actually not on this list.
They're not
all. I think because we haven't seen enough from Vlad Guerrero Jr. yet. Like his career is still ongoing. So I think that's why he's not on the list as of now. It's Felipe Alou with 42 career WAR, Moises Alou with 39 career WAR, Ray Boone and Bob Boone. Aaron Boone, the current New York Yankees coach, his dad and grandpa. Ray Boone had a 27.5 career WAR. Bob Boone had a 27.5 career WAR also. And then number 5 is Mel Stottlemyre and Todd Stottlemyre. And that's going way back. We're going back in the day. 40 career WAR for Mel and a 21 career WAR for Todd. You're right, though. I think Vlad Guerrero Jr. and Sr. would be up there. I don't know what the ratings are below that or what the rankings are below that.
They're just the ones that like came to my mind without.
Yeah.
I mean, I've done no research before.
No,
this,
I know. That's why I asked, because I just think like it's such an interesting thing, and I probably would have gotten all of those wrong. I probably would have flipped Ken Griffey and Jr. and Sr. and Bobby and Barry Bonds. I would have thought the same thing that you thought, that Jr. and Sr., Griffey Jr. and Griffey Sr. were probably the number one father-son duo in all of baseball. But it brings up the other question, and I kind of asked this to Eric yesterday. Is there another sport that's more conducive to a father-son playing together combo? And I'm talking playing at the same time, even on different teams, but playing in the league at the same time. Is there any other sport?
So hockey
that
is
works?
Historically the most familial. Like hockey families tend to be hockey families.
Yes.
So you get NHLers generation after generation.
Sure.
But careers are way shorter than baseball careers generally. So it doesn't happen very often because guys don't play till they're 40 in hockey because their bodies break down.
Yes, and even if you do, even if you're getting the Ovechkins, the Crosbys, those kind of guys, you still have to have a child who is good enough to make it into the National Hockey League by age 19, 18 years old, and that's a stretch. I mean, we only see a couple 18, 19-year-olds in the NHL right now. So you're right. NFL, it'll never happen. There's no chance.
Careers are just too short.
It's
in the
way
NFL.
too short. I mean,
careers
Tom
are
Brady,
just way too short.
Tom Brady needed to have a kid when he was like 18 years old.
Yeah, and the closest you probably get is like what Pat Surtain did, because his dad only retired 8 or 9 years before he got into the league.
Yeah,
but even then, that's almost a decade between the two, and that's probably as close as you can get.
Like, I mean, look at the Mannings, the Manning lineage. I mean, that's a football family right there, and they're not playing together. You don't see Peyton out there playing with his kids or Archie playing, and so on. So NFL, that'll never happen. NBA, obviously, it just happened, but look at the circumstances in which it happened. LeBron is extending his career literally just so that he could play with his son Bronny, and Bronny barely snuck into the NBA. I mean, this is a Giannis and his brother situation where who's Giannis's brother?
Thanasis.
Yes, Thanasis.
Thanasis. What a guy.
What a guy who is only on the Bucks because Giannis said he wanted his brother on the team.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a package deal.
He's a pretty decent EuroLeague player, but
Sure.
He's just no way. He would not be
He's
in the
better
NBA.
than Bronny.
Yeah, he
He's
would
better
not,
than Bronny.
Yes, that's true. Probably.
I would argue, and I'm not trying to get into too much of an NBA show here, but I would argue that Lakers fans actually dislike the fact that Bronny and LeBron are playing. Like, they're playing for a championship here. Like, I wouldn't want this.
It is a bit of a sideshow
It
in
is
a
a
year
sideshow.
where they should have aspiration. I mean, they've still probably got 2 of the top 10 players in the league. Like, you should probably be thinking about winning a title, and it's a major sideshow.
Hank made a good point before we get into break. Hank made a really good point, though, when I was talking to him upstairs. It is really good that the Lakers got this out of the way in the first game, where they said, this is a circus. We know it. Let's just put Bronny in this game in the first game of the year. We'll give him like the 90-second playing time that he's going to get. It's going to be this historic thing, and then we will move on from that, and we can move on. I doubt he gets meaningful playing time anytime soon. Beyond that, after we come back from break, I do want to play a clip of Matt Holliday talking about whether or not he had decided what his decision process was like when he wanted to figure out if he could play with his son Jackson, and he had a pretty funny response when I asked him about that earlier when Jackson Holliday was playing with the Orioles. So we'll get to that when we come back from break. But before we get into that, got to give a shout out to our friends over at Game Time. Because right now, there's never been a better time to be a fan than currently. And I said it yesterday. I mean, there are so many sports being played right now. This week, I wrote it down. I'm pulling it up here because I have to say it. We have 16 NFL games, 3 World Series games, 41 NBA games, 49 NHL games, which like 99% of them played yesterday at the same time. This is an incredible time to be a sports fan. You've got it all. As they say back in High School Musical, you've got it all, right? That's what's happening right now this week. And if you're trying to get out to a game, which we've got a lot of options, don't forget college is happening too. The Buffs are playing, the Rams are playing. You got to check out Game Time, because Game Time makes it easier than ever to get tickets to any of your favorite sporting events, live events, concerts. I'm going to a concert this weekend, a little Halloween spooky concert at an abandoned church venue, little Halloween kind of candlelight concert, if you will, with Marissa.
I think I'm going to that next week.
No way.
Yeah.
A little candlelight concert.
Yeah.
Nice.
With the whole like seance thing and all that.
Yeah, look at us.
My girlfriend and I are going to that next
week.
Look
at us. How cute. So yeah, whatever you're into, whether you're into candlelight concerts like Kale and I, or Broncos games, or whatever it is, Game Time has you covered. They've got incredible pricing. They've got an incredible app. So yeah, download the app. Create an account. You can use code DNVR. You get $20 off your first purchase. Terms and conditions do apply. Again, create an account. Redeem code DNVR for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. Well, we also got to give some love to our buddies over at Toyota, because Toyota is the best of the best. I will literally, how some people have that product that they will die, for, like they don't ever go to anything else. You see like a lot of times it's like cell phones, like I'm an Apple person, I'm an Android person, like I'll never touch an Apple phone. Like my wife's dad, my father-in-law, like will never touch an iPhone to save his life, and like that's great. I'm that way with Toyotas. Like I will never ever own a Toyota. If I'm a multimillionaire one day and I have the option to have like the 50 cars, I'll have 50 Toyotas. I'll have the 4Runner. I'll have a souped up Tacoma. I'll have a nice, little road tripping RAV4, which is hopefully going to be my next car when I go get a car. Like there are so many great cars with Toyota, and they're the best. They can get you from, affordable vehicles where you're just trying to get a nice family car, maybe a starter car for your kid who's just turning who's just turning, what's the driving age? 16 now? If you're just turning 16, you want to get a car for your kid, all the way up to a super cool souped up 4Runners that just look sick. They've got it all. And so you got to check out Toyota. They've got a ton of options here in Colorado. You can visit your Front Range Toyota stores at a location near you. AutoNation Toyota, Arapahoe and Centennial, Corwin Toyota in Boulder, Groove Toyota in Littleton, Mountain States Toyota in Denver, Stevenson's Toyota East in Aurora, Stevenson's Toyota West in Lakewood. Toyota is the official vehicle of DNVR. All right, I want to circle back one time before we move on topic-wise, because Matt Holliday, I was talking to him couple months ago when he made it to Coors Field before Jackson Holliday played against the Rockies, and we had asked Matt what, hey man, you're not that far off, you only retired a couple years ago, you weren't that far off from Jackson Holliday, getting the chance to play with your kid. Was there any thought process of, A, playing, extending your career a little bit to play with Jackson, and B, in retirement, seeing how quickly Jackson was rising through the ranks and saying, you know what, maybe I'll come out of retirement to try and play with my son. And so we asked him that, and this is what he had to say in response to that.
Yeah, I wish he'd have told me he was going to be up so fast. I think I could have maybe, I saw, oh gosh, what's his name? The guy with the Red Sox is back.
Rich Hill.
Rich Hill's back. Rich Hill's my age, so like if he could do it, I don't know why I could. But I watched the Dodgers bullpen throw, and I think probably not gonna come back. So it would be cool. It would have been amazing, obviously, but 6 years is probably a bit too big a gap at this point.
Fair from Matt Holliday, by the way. You watch that Dodger bullpen and say, "Yeah, I'm good. Think I'll slide into retirement and enjoy myself." It's funny because out of the handful of players that we've talked to this year that have talked about their retirement journey, Matt Holliday, Todd Helton, Charlie Blackmon, all three of them have very similar retirement stories where they came to the realization that they wanted to retire based on pitching and looking at the state of pitching. Todd Helton says, "Yeah, I saw an Aroldis Chapman 105-mile-an-hour fastball near my face and said, you know what? I think it's time to hang him up." Charlie Blackmon pretty much said the same thing. And then Matt Holliday says, "Yeah, I think I saw that Dodger bullpen and I'm like, I'm good. And hey, what do you know? The Dodgers are in the World Series." So perfect segue into talking about this World Series because there's so much to talk about. And guys, I've been doing some thinking because the last show I had, I was pretty frustrated about the fact that we have to watch the Dodgers in the World Series, Dodgers and Yankees. But I've done some thinking. And, I think it's time that we move past this whole Dodgers-Yankees, I'm not going to watch the World Series because I hate both the teams narrative. Because here's why. If you can get past your hate, and it is hate, I feel it as deeply as you do, but your hate for the Dodgers and Yankees, as a lover of the game of baseball, you would realize that this is going to be, or has the opportunity to be, one of the best World Series matchups we've seen in a long, long time. And baseball is too beautiful of a sport to not watch this series because you've got two heavyweight teams, two 1 seeds, throwing haymakers at each other offensively. Two of the best offenses in baseball. The greatest player to currently ever grace a major league roster in Shohei Ohtani. Two MVP candidates on either side of the baseball. Two of the most hated fan bases going at it across coast to coast. If you want to take it from a different perspective, if you're like me and you hate both teams, well then choose which team you hate most and just hate root for the other team. I'm doing that for the Yankees. I'm rooting for the Yankees. I have a Yankees hat that I had from when I was like in high school, when I didn't know anything and I didn't know any better. And I'll bring out my Yankees hat to root for the Yankees because I hate the Dodgers that much. But I'm not going to say I'm not going to say that I'm turning off the TV. I'm not going to watch this series because this series has the chance to be incredible. And if you love baseball like I do, and I hope you do, then I hope that you tune in on Friday and every game after that to watch this World Series because it could be absolutely electric.
Can I throw my perspective out there?
Yes, and thank you for letting me rant there for a second.
Yeah. So for the first time in years, I feel this way about the playoffs. I feel like legacies are really on the line, and that is the storyline going into this World Series. And how many years has it been since we've said that? Because it feels like a long time. Because we've got the best player maybe ever, and then another player of his generation on each side of the ball that the only thing they have left to do is win a ring.
And for Shohei Ohtani to go from the Angels to winning a World Series
immediately would be there's some juice to this World Series that we haven't had in a lot of years, and it's exactly what baseball needs.
History is on the line, and I love that you bring that up, because I want to bring baseball fans back to where we were last year. If you remember this time last year, there was a lot of complaining going on about having a Rangers Diamondbacks World Series. A lot of people were upset, saying, God, look at these teams. You know, it was the bye week that killed all the 1 seeds, and now we got to watch a Rangers go win the World Series. What are we doing? Well, now my question is, with people complaining about the 2 1 seeds duking it out, the 2 best teams in baseball, are you ever going to be happy? What would you rather have? Now, I know you would rather have your team in the World Series, but 90% of fan bases out there don't have that because your team isn't in the World Series. Rockies fans, our team is a long way from the World Series. So would you rather have 2, kind of whatever franchises going at it, and you're just kind of like, do I really want to watch? Or would you rather have the storylines, the bad blood, a documentary that could come out of this? I don't know if you guys saw. There's the Boston Red Sox and New York Yankees, the comeback documentary just debuted today on Netflix. I will 1,000% be watching that, and I have no interest in the Red Sox or the Yankees from a fan perspective, but that's what baseball is great for. And so for this, I'm like, I can't complain. I cannot complain about these 2 teams going at it, because this is incredible baseball.
I also think we cannot overstate what this means for the sport moving forward. Like,
absolutely,
leaning into the storylines and the legacies of the players has been what's allowed the NBA and other non-NFL leagues to grow. And the fact that they've got some real drama and some real national storylines outside of just what some casual baseball fans follow going into this World Series. Not to mention that it's happening in the 2 biggest markets in America. Like, these ratings are going to be bonkers, and it's going to be good for the league, and that matters.
And you have the entire country of Japan watching this. You weren't on the show, and I talked about this the other day, Kale. But what was it? Game 1 of the NLCS had 12.8 million viewers watching in Japan, not in America. We had 9 million people watching in America, which set a record. But in Japan, they said, you know what? We'll have 12 million. That's unbelievable. That is NFL playoff type of numbers right there. And this is baseball we're talking about. This isn't the NFL. I love baseball, but it's not the NFL when it comes to numbers. And when you, as a organization, can put up NFL numbers in a different sport, wow. That says something. Let's get into the specifics on this, though. Go back in the time capsule here. The last time these 2 teams met was in 1981. I was negative 16 years old, to put that into perspective. Kale was also negative 16 years old.
We're the same age. That's true.
That is true. MTV was debuting in the year 1981. This is the last time these 2 teams met in the World Series, by the way. MTV was debuting. They played nothing but music videos, 24/7. The first space shuttle launched into orbit. Wild. Ronald Reagan was the president and was attempted to be assassinated in that year. That's a weird way of saying that. Ronald Reagan assassination attempt happened in 1981. That's a little cleaner. Prince Charles and Lady Diana got married in the year 1981. The list goes on. It was actually kind of a depressing year, though.
Sounds like in world history, not a great year.
It wasn't. Cool that the space shuttle launched. MTV, if you're into that, that's great. I mean, hey, MTV launched in 1981. DNVR launches on Samsung TV 2024. Probably about the same level of hype, I would say. Going to go down in history.
You know, you never know how history's going to look back on current events.
I love it. But yeah, we'll see if this year is any better, any different. I will say, if you look before we hit this last break, if you look at the recap of the series, the World Series, the Dodgers won the World Series against the Yankees in 1981, but it didn't look like that was going to be the case. The Yankees won 2 in a row to start that series, and the Dodgers went on to win 4 straight and win the series. What was that lineup that looked like back then? We're going to talk about that after this break. But before we get into that, let's give a shout out to our friends over at the Upswing Foundation. And the Upswing Foundation is really cool. If you haven't heard of it, they're a new partner here with DNVR. One of my favorite partners that we have right now, because I love youth sports. It was one of my favorite things when I was growing up. One of the ways that I got into playing baseball as a kid was through youth sports and youth camps. And the Upswing Foundation is that. They partner and they help basically propel kids into these opportunities to get out and have a good time. Kids under the age of 18 get to learn and experience sports in a fun way and also an educational way from top athletes and from great coaches. And there's so many ways to get involved. And right now, Upswing Foundation, they've got an open house on November 3rd, 2024, from 1 to 3 p.m. so you can meet some of their performance coordinators. They've also got a lot of really cool stuff. They've got world-class services in performance training, dance, and my favorite is their recovery education training. And I've said this before, but I'll say it again. You know, one of the things that I regret looking back as a kid, I wish I had put more energy and effort into learning how to recover effectively. If you want to learn more about, you know, guys that take their recovery serious, look at Travis Hunter. That guy is religious when it comes to his recovery. And the Upswing Foundation helps get kids educated on recovery at a young age. Such an important topic. So right now, athletes under the age of 18 can sign up for classes at upswingfoundation.org/DNVR or by downloading the Upswing Foundation app. DNVR listeners get 20% off all services when they use code DNVR20 at checkout. Upswing also offers scholarships to qualifying athletes under the age of 18 to train in sports performance, dance, recovery, in all of their new state-of-the-art athletic facilities in Centennial. So cool stuff going on over there. Also got to give some love to our new friends here at What Chaos. Now, What Chaos is a fascinating new podcast that we're rolling out in the All-City market. It is our new All-City hockey podcast hosted by Pete Blackburn and DJ Bean. They tout it as mostly hockey with a lot of nonsense. And look, we love that. That's, you know, DNVR is and All-City, they're in the business of making sports more fun. And What Chaos, if you're into hockey, especially if you're into the NHL, hockey as a whole, they've got you covered, especially with hockey season in full swing now. You know, we got the Frozen Frenzy yesterday, the Avs on a 3-game win streak. What Chaos has you covered on all areas in the NHL. So whatever you're interested in when it comes to hockey, What Chaos is the premier hockey coverage. They're live 4 times a week at 12 Eastern time on YouTube, wherever you listen to your podcasts. So you got to make sure you check them out. You can also check out their new merch collection, which is really sick. That just dropped in a partnership with Just Dishin. Shirts, hoodies, hats, accessories. Visit Just Dishin, spelled JUSTDISHIN.com to check it out. All right, so we were talking about, you know, this historic series, Yankees Dodgers back in 1981. Last time these two teams met in the World Series. What was the lineups like, or the rosters? And I'm not going to go through the entire roster, but I took some of the main names out of the rosters on those teams. Let's go down the list. For the Dodgers, their roster: Dusty Baker, Steve Garvey, Pedro Guerrero, God, that's hard to say, Davey Lopes, Ricky Monday, Bill Russell, Dave Stewart, Steve Yeager, Fernando Valenzuela, which, side note, Fernando Valenzuela passing away yesterday. Thoughts and prayers to the Fernando Valenzuela family. He was only in his 60s, a Dodger icon, a Dodger legend. I know they're going to be honoring him this World Series. super sad seeing that he passed at such a young age. There's some really cool tributes that the Dodgers are doing to him. I know it's Dodger Hate Week here. We love to poke at the Dodgers as much as possible, but Fernando Valenzuela did so much for the Mexican baseball community in Major League Baseball. Our boy Ryan Spilborghs is doing some shout outs to him as well. So that's kind of a sad little segment, but just wanted to give some love to the Valenzuela family and to the baseball community as a whole. But yeah, Fernando Valenzuela, he was a pitcher in that 1981 World Series, a stacked Dodger lineup that, as I said, won 4 straight games to win the World Series. Yankees, Bobby Brown, Rick Cerrone, Ron Davis, George Frazier, Reggie Jackson, Mr. October, who I have some interesting stories between him and Bud Black that I could share at a different time. Tommy John, the OG, Tommy John, the name of the most hated surgery in all of baseball. Dave LaRoche, Bobby Mercer, Lou Piniella, Willie Randolph, Dave Righetti, former San Francisco Giants pitching coach, Bob Watson, and Dave Winfield. What a drive down memory lane. I know my mom's listening to this podcast right now. Like, I know him. Like, if you watched baseball growing up, those are your guys. Either you loved them or you hated them. And in most cases for us in the NL West, we hated them. So a crazy little trip down memory lane there. But Gonna sidestep away from the World Series here just for a moment, because I want to throw out this really interesting story. I don't know if you guys saw this on Twitter, but Shohei Ohtani's 50-50 home run ball just sold for $4.3 million. A cool $4.3 million, which isn't a huge surprise to me. It's Shohei Ohtani. It's 50-50, whatever. But the interesting part of this is that it's still legally up in the air right now whether or not, or who is going to end up getting the money for this home run ball. Because an 18-year-old has filed a lawsuit claiming that he was attacked and that in the scrum for the baseball in the stands, and that the baseball was stolen from him. And it's still TBD legally who gets the money officially. Now, I will say a court already threw out the initial lawsuit to halt the auction, but he's now continuing to sue to basically bring that money to him. Now, here's my take on this, and tell me if I'm wrong on this. I feel like if a ball lands in my lap, everyone in the stands knows what's at stake in that moment. And you see that ball coming into the stands, and that ball lands in my lap. It's survival of the fittest. There is going to be hair pulling, clawing, punching. It's a fumble in the end zone in the Super Bowl type of situation where it's all hands on deck and it's survival of the fittest. Barring anyone pulling any weapons, which no one should have a weapon in a baseball stadium anyways. You're fighting for $4.5 million down there. And if you're going to sit there and say, well, it was in my hands and they took it from me, well, tough luck. Tough freaking luck. You should have fought harder. That's a $4.5 million baseball that was sitting in your lap and you didn't freaking get it. You should have gone to the weight room, bud, because you just lost out on $4.5 million. And whoever ripped that baseball out of your hands, sucks to suck. They just got $4.5 million. Like, that's life. Parents should have raised you a little tougher. That's the way it goes sometimes. This isn't like a common, situation. This isn't like a get-rich-quick type of scenario where you can plan for this and, this is a lottery. You're winning the lottery if you get that home run ball. So I have no sympathy for the guy. I mean, I have sympathy. That sucks. Like, I'd be kicking myself. But I have no sympathy for the lawsuit that this kid is trying to throw out there saying, it was taken from me. Dude, you should have fought harder for it, dude. I look at it this way. Kale, if I handed you a briefcase with $4.3 million and said, dude, you've got to run through a stadium full of people, and it's fair game whether or not people take that from you, you're going to fight for it. Like, you're not just going to be like, oh, oops, someone took it from me.
Oh, no, that's Mad Max Thunderdome. That's how that works.
It's not like, it's not, you're not being nice.
It's not my fault if you get injured.
Yes.
I mean, at that point, like...
Because here's the other hypothetical. If someone gives you a briefcase of $4.5 million and says, you have to get your right arm snapped in half, you've got to get a black eye, and you might get some hair pulled out and a bloody lip, but you get to keep $4.5 million? Sign me up, dude. You always see those things
break my back. Do you know how like that surgery's not more than $500,000?
$4.5 million. What's the limit here? $4.5 million. Where do we draw the line? I would give up a right hand for $4.5 million. Like, are you kidding me? And you're gonna say that like, oh, someone was mean to you? All right, let's move on. Well, let's keep this energy though into this next segment before we wrap up this show. With the Dodgers and Yankees playing each other, we've been talking about how this is like one of the most hated series in baseball, hated World Series, matchups in baseball. It brings up the question to me that is, who's your most hated player in the history of both franchises? So we'll start with the Yankees. For me, most hated Yankee, A-Rod. And he's still one of my most hated players. Like, dude's kind of annoying in the MLB Network pre- and post-game shows. He wears way too much bronzer out there. Like, the dude looks like he burnt himself to death in the tanning bed. Like, that is not his normal look.
I'm also just still mad he got in completely like as a unanimous first ballot guy
with the steroids and
I mean,
that's my
he doesn't like. Sorry, like there's guys that deserve that. He wasn't one of them.
Barry Bonds. I will die on the hill that Barry Bonds should be in the Hall of Fame. A-Rod, incredible player, not my guy. I hated A-Rod. And he was obviously a really good Yankee, but he just he fit the Yankees vibe. Like he was cocky. He did steroids. He was kind of lame about it. Then he came back and was somehow really good when he shouldn't have been. I just hated A-Rod. So he's my most hated Yankee. Most hated Dodger? You might be surprised on this one, but when I say it, if you watched any Dodger baseball over the last forever, you'll probably agree with me. Yasiel Puig. Do you remember that guy? Kale, do you remember Yasiel Puig?
Yes.
Dude,
he's not my
freaking sucked.
He's not my least favorite Dodger of all time, but boy, did I hate him coming to town.
I hated Puig. Dude was a menace out there on the field. He was so cocky. He was just arrogant, and we can't swear anymore on the pod because we're on TV now, but there's some superlatives that I could throw out there for him. He was just not my guy. He didn't make me feel warm and fuzzy inside. I can respect Shohei Ohtani and his incredible play as a Dodger fan. I hate the Dodgers, so I hate Shohei. But I don't have a personal issue with Shohei. Yasiel Puig was trying to fight people every time he stepped out there. I've said this before on the pod. I grew up in a Giants household, so the Giants played Yasiel Puig plenty of times. The Rockies played Yasiel Puig plenty of times. He was just a nemesis. Anytime he was out there on the field, I hated him. So, yeah, that's my most hated Dodger. Just couldn't get over him. Glad he's out of the league. I also hated Aroldis Chapman when he played for the Yankees. He just fit that vibe. Not my most hated Yankee. Oh, Kale, I didn't get the chance to ask. Who's your most hated Dodger since you said it wasn't Puig?
Oh, man. Oh.
It's kind of a hard question because there's so many guys that I could say I hate.
I gotta be, and he's on the team right now. I fucking hate Mookie. Sorry, I wasn't supposed to say that. I hate Mookie Betts. I always have.
He's the podcast guy now.
I know it goes back to the Nolan rivalry that they had that
True.
Shouldn't have even been a conversation at the time.
I think. So I don't. Correct me if I'm wrong. I saw a clip that just came out from Mookie's podcast of him talking to Aaron Judge, and I didn't know. I'm not sure. Did they film this podcast now? which I don't disagree with that they would do that. Like, I don't, I'm not surprised that they would do that, but it just kind of shocked me that, I'm like, you're getting ready for a World Series to play each other to death and you're doing a podcast together.
Yeah, that's a little weird to me, but
save it for after the series is done. But anyways, we're out on time right now. Got to wrap it up. It is 1:15. Thank you guys for tuning in. Drop us a like on the way out. Please, please, please give us a subscription on YouTube if you have not already. We are almost to 100,000 subscribers on YouTube. If you love what we do at DNVR, which I hope you do, give us that subscribe button, and we would be very grateful for that. Shout out to Kale, super producer. I'm Christian Saez. You can follow me on Twitter at CJJ Saez. That's going to be it for us. We'll see you guys on Friday. Enjoy the rest of your day.
We all silly like the mayor.